It is Friday. We made it through the week. I'm not sure how it went by so fast. I suppose because we are having a lot of fun being busy. This is Washington Football Live. Julie Donaldson, Santana Moss here with you. So apparently it's Khaki Friday.
Khaki Friday.
We're going to show you what that means a little bit later if you do not know. But Santana told me Khaki Friday
Got to
is the
change the
thing.
game up a little bit, you know. Everybody don't know about that, so
We're,
thank
we're,
me
we're,
for
we're
introducing you
bringing
to
you
that.
into what is now Khaki Friday.
Exactly.
So this is the ramp up period. Things are getting a little bit faster at camp. As you can see, the players are not on the field behind us because it's been very wet, rainy week here, and the fields are absolutely soaked. So the team right now is in the bubble. They are starting their warm ups, going through their walkthroughs. The helmets are on, and they just pumped up the music.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're having a good party in there.
You know, it's nice to know that they're having a good time and we get to listen to the music
Yeah.
but not know what they're really listening to. So it's fun, you know.
All right, well, through these shows, I'm going to be bringing in some of my friends today. I am bringing in David Aldridge. We had a nice little chat about the team, the state of our country, the state of football, dealing with COVID, and what we can expect this season.
Has a lot of history. I mean, it's got almost 90 years of history in this city. And a lot of it has been bad, but not all of it. You know, all of us, if you grew up here, you know, if you're of a certain age, you remember when this team meant a lot to the city and almost everybody in town was behind them. You know, and you know, you think about what, again, I always go back to this. When Doug Williams won a Super Bowl, I cannot tell you what that meant to black people in this town. I can't. There's no way I can explain it to you because, again, of the history of the franchise and of the position of quarterback, what that meant. And so that's what you can build on. There's things you can build on. You can build on a Darryl Green. You can build on a Riggins. You can build on Dexter, as crazy as Dexter was. You can build on some of those things because nobody thinks Dexter did anything malevolently. He just, you know, he had problems, but he wasn't a bad person. You know what I mean? So there are things you can build on that people remember fondly.
Part of what we're also having to experience now as we go through this is COVID, David. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, we don't have access to the players. We're limited. You know, media is limited. You know, interviews like this, it's done through technology.
Right.
Trying to navigate this, you know, fans aren't going to be at the stadium, at least not to begin, you know, unless we can find a solution to it to where it's safe and it's healthy. I mean, where can you put this in the monumental things that you've covered in your career and how we're supposed to navigate it?
Well, there's nothing that compares to this. I mean, there just isn't. I mean, human beings need other human beings. That's kind of, you know, we are not, most of us are not people who like to isolate. We don't usually like to be alone all the time, right? I mean, there's times you do want to be alone, but a lot of times we find enjoyment in the company of other people, right? And so this is a direct kind of assault on that kind of human instinct to try and be around other people when you want to have a good time. And it's difficult. It's hard on fans. It's hard on families. It's hard on communities, you know, and it's unprecedented. So none of us really know how to navigate this. And all I can suggest is, you know, I think it will go better and it will go easier if we do this together. I think that would be the best way to do it. So even though Zoom is not ideal or optimal right now, getting on a Zoom call with your friends is the best that we can all do. So enjoy it to the best that you can, you know. Write people letters, write people emails and texts. I am thinking about you. Those things go a long way, I think, right now. But for a football team, like any sports team, even the NBA, which has had some success with the bubble, it's still not the same. There are guys down there who are miserable because they're not around their families. They're not around the people that they care about. And teams are winning and they're going to the playoffs, and that's important, but it's still difficult to not be around the people that you care about the most.
When you do look at the season going forward, and just talking maybe just a little bit of football now,
Sure.
you've covered this team. You know, I hope you're going to be one of the media pool members that gets to come out here once in a while so we can actually
I
see you.
plan to, unless you know
and
something
wave
I don't
from a,
know.
right, way from a certain distance. But, you know, you take a look at this roster, you take a look at what they're doing in the work. You know, what do you think about how they're making up and what they're going to try and hopefully turn around from after those 3 wins?
Well, I think it's going to be a work in progress. I don't think anybody should expect, you know, some major turnaround this year. I mean, it takes time. It takes time for a new staff, no matter how good they are, to get what they want on the field. It just takes time. There are so many, and this is part of the question marks, as you know, about, there's not one position where you look at it, maybe defensive line. Okay, maybe defensive line, you look at it and say, okay, we're pretty set there. But there's not another position on this team where you go, well, they don't need to add anything to that position. They're set. Maybe punter, maybe Tressway. Tressway's okay. But everybody else, it's a question mark. There's different levels of question marks, but there's not certainty, right? There's not certainty anywhere other than defensive line. And I think it's hard to expect, a great season when you go into a season with that much uncertainty. Part of, putting this new culture in is identifying young players, whether they're drafted players or free agents, that can come in and provide that level of consistent production. You've got talent. I have no doubt that you've got talent at every position. You just haven't seen it translate to performance on the field. Dwayne Haskins is talented, but he has to do it when people are really coming at him, when they're, he has to do it in a game, and he has to do it over a 16-week, 18-week season, so it's difficult. It's hard. If it was easy, everybody could do it. So we will see over the course of the season, I think, which positions begin to fill in. That, to me, if I'm a fan, that's the thing I'm going to be looking at more than the wins and the losses. They matter. I'm not saying they don't matter. But are you getting stability on the offensive line? Are you getting stability in the secondary? Are you getting some stability at wide receiver where you go, okay, we know McLaurin's good. Who else is good? Who else is really good on Sundays? There's lots of guys that are great on Thursdays. Who's good on Sunday? So that to me is what I would be looking for. Are you getting that kind of consistent, productive effort every time the guy goes on the field? Adrian Peterson's consistent. You know what he's going to do when he goes on the field. That's what that's the level that you're looking at. Can I get that out of the left guard every week? Can I get that out of the weak side linebacker every week? And if you can, you're going in the right direction. It may not translate to wins this year, but you have to start somewhere where you won 3 games the year before.
Yeah, I was talking with a couple of people and I said, what's the measure of success for the team this season? And it necessarily won't be in the wins and losses. It's going to be exactly what you were saying, of evaluating the players, who's going to step up, who can you count on, and then you can know where you can take it in those next few steps. And even head coach Ron Rivera said, look, you've got to be patient. This is not a 1-2 year deal, but it's not going to be a 5-year deal either to try and turn it around. Of course, we're hoping the whole season gets off. Before I let you go real quick, you did NBA 2K. Are you doing Madden this year as well?
No, just 2K. I stay in my lane.
You're welcome over.
And I enjoyed it. It's been a very odd thing to happen at this point in my career, but it's been a lot of fun.
All right. Look, again, anytime you want to come over into this lane with this team and do some work with me, albeit virtually, because that is what our world is right now. You're welcome.
I know.
Appreciate you.
I'm happy for you, though. I'm happy. This is a great opportunity for you, and they picked the right person. I'm glad they picked you.
Thank you. I'm going to give it my all. That I can guarantee.
Absolutely.
David's pretty much all around a good dude, covers everything from here. Went to the same school, DeMatha, as Chase Young, by the way.
Yeah.
So grew up a fan of the team and continues to cover them as well. But he did mention that there's a lot of different question marks on this team. So we're going to play a little game of who you got. We're going to have some questions. We put this out to you on Twitter. We wanted to see your answers as well. We'll be pulling them up as we are in the warm up. To warm up, we're going to go with question number 1, who you got? And that is the best playmaker on this team. Santana, who would you pick?
None other than Terry McLaurin. I think last year alone he showed you that he can make the tough catch. He can get away and run away from guys. He, end the season, 900-something yards, 7 touchdowns. So he's the playmaker. He's the guy I'm looking forward to continue what he did last year by doubling that this year.
I'm going to say Dwayne Haskins Jr. for this one. He's going to really growing into being the quarterback, the QB1, has that full off season. You've already seen a good bit of the confidence coming out of him this season. You heard Morgan Moses saying how he's commanding the huddle even more. I think that's going to make a difference. And the way that this offense is going to go with Scott Turner, he's going to spread that ball around. Haskins is going to have his opportunities to make a whole bunch of plays. We were talking, you saw a good bit of those happening at the end of last season. So I'll go with Haskins for that one. Question number 2 up here is, who is the strongest on the team?
I would say Matt Ioannidis, but I won't leave John Allen out of the that equation when it comes to they have to have a head-to-head before I can just give Matt the title. But Madden understands where I'm coming from, and they picked him as the second strongest defensive lineman in the whole entire NFL. So Matt Ioannidis right now kind of leads out. He's probably 1A and John Allen 1B.
Yeah, and like you also have Daron Payne, Tim Settle. Tim Settle, when we were talking with him, or I was asking the other day how much he was squatting, he said he thinks he's the strongest out there. He can do the most. But I like that they have a competition on that. It will keep going. See, there you go. You see the video of these defensive linemen going out there. How much weight is that? Oh, dear Lord.
So you have to understand something about those colorful plates. They're a little different from just that hard iron plate.
So it's a little deceptive.
A little lighter than what you might think it is, but it's still a lot.
All right, Ioannidis, Payne, Settle, Allen. I think you could go with anyone.
Any one of them, yeah.
How about who is the fastest on the team?
Terry is a pretty fast cat. He's probably right now listed as the fastest guy on the team, but you can't leave Sims Jr. out of that equation. I believe Sims Jr. didn't have a chance to really get timed at the combine, but his pro day, I believe he ran pretty fast, and he's lightning in the bottle. He showed you that all season last year. So those two guys, to me, will have to have a head-to-head.
So I asked Steven Sims Jr. before we came out here on the show, and I said, are you faster than Terry, or have you guys raced? He said, Terry probably has a step on me. And he's like, just one. He goes, but he's coming for him, and Terry's going to have to earn it. So I like that they're already talking about who has that, jumped right in. And he's like, look, he's got one little step on him. If we go on to our 4th question on here, and who you got most likely to surprise at camp?
Most likely to surprise, pay attention to a safety, Cameron Curl. He's a guy that can add depth to our safety. I understand we have Sean Davis probably as our leading guy there, but this guy has potential to be that deep safety that can really, make some havoc or cause some havoc on his defense if given an opportunity to. And he also can play special teams.
I like that you got defense there. I'm going to say Bryce Love. And I'm hoping that that's going to be the case because we have not been able to see him in motion. If he gets out there, if he's healthy and he's able to go, I think he's going to be really flashing. Look, he was a Heisman finalist and just hasn't had his opportunity to get out there and play. So I'm going to expect him to be a good surprise for us. To everybody that did play along with us on Who You Got, thank you. We enjoyed watching your comments and getting those throughout the Twitter. Again, we want to be as interactive and bring you in as much as we can. When we come back here, we are going to go to the defensive side of the ball. We're going to put the player spotlight on Reuben Foster. What impact can he have on this defense? Where does he fit in that linebacking room? Stay with us.
This summer, get back in the driver's seat. Your Honda dealer is open and ready to get you into a new Honda today. Like the versatile HR-V or the fun-to-drive CR-V. Visit the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal from Honda, KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand. Get a great deal on the CR-V at the Honda Summer Clearance Event today.
A moment of joy, a source of inspiration, an act of kindness, an old friend, a new beginning, some welcome relief, or a cause for celebration. What's inside? Possibilities. What we deliver by delivering.
Washington Football Live on this Friday. Julie Donaldson, Santana Moss. It is time for the X's presented by Pepsi. And we are doing player spotlights today. We are putting it on Reuben Foster as he was activated off the physically unable to perform list last weekend and being able to get out there with his teammates. We've been talking a little bit about him as he's going to his 4th season, missed the entire year last year because I was actually out of that practice where he gets out there and I think like 2 plays in. He's down, carted off, never had his opportunity to come back. Look, a bit of a storied past in getting here. I think we're all quite familiar with that. And I was the first to say I was very skeptical of this, and say, let's not get too overhyped. We need to make sure that everything off the field is going to be okay before we can really welcome him on. And even after they did bring him in, I went around to every player that played at Alabama with him, John Allen, Sean Deion Hamilton, and asked them, I said, what is it about this guy? How can we help him in? They said, look, he just needs to have good guys around him, but he's going to be a good teammate. From what I've heard now, when I follow up on those conversations, he has been. Yeah. And he has shown explosiveness coming off of that injury. And he has been very engaged. The coaches keep saying that. He's engaged in the meeting rooms. So he has an opportunity to really come in and make an impact.
Yeah, one of the biggest questions is, can we count on him? You don't want to go into the season and saying that this is the guy that we count on playing. So you want to leave that little area, that room for error, and just say, can we count on him? He hasn't played a full season since he's been in the league, missed all of last year. But if healthy and when healthy, he shows you flashes of him being that Pro Bowl caliber player. So you just hope this guy can get back to full strength and be a guy that we can rely on.
So he was a former first-round pick. Right now on the defense, they have 7 former first-round picks, which means that that's going to be the strength of the team and something to get excited about. If we're to talk about the strengths of him, what would you say are his best attributes right now where he's at?
I think I can't even say right now where he's at, but if you just think about the last time he played the game, one of the things that we was, we was like our Achilles heel last year was our safeties. Our linebackers covering, and he can cover and cover ground. So he's a guy that we can put in there on 3rd down. He's an every down linebacker, but on 3rd down especially, he can go out there and cover some of those guys that we just couldn't find to, do so last year. So that's, to me, is a big strength that we didn't have last year.
He has the opportunity, Coach said he's going to move him around to all the positions to be a starter. He's going to have to earn it. That is one thing that Coach keeps saying across the board is that, look, you're not really going to be able to see what they're doing until the pads are on. We're still a couple of days away from that happening. But when he does get out there, he's going to move them around. They want them to learn multiple positions. I've heard a lot of guys say that helps them be a better player as well, to understand what it is to be the middle, the weak, and the strong side. He has the physical stature to be strong, the aggressiveness for that. He has the athletic ability to play the weak side. And once he learns the offense and commands that huddle, they think that he could even be the middle guy. So you're going to be able to see where he falls in. But let's also hear from his coach now in the linebacking room, Steve Russ, on Foster.
Fantastic. He's back there taking mental reps. He's making the calls. He's lining up. He's putting himself in that position. He's telling, he's saying out loud what he's going to do. I quiz guys a lot in meetings, and one of the things I like to do with Reuben is Reuben will push mute. And I see Reuben making all the calls with his hands, whether I ask him or not. And, I can see his lips moving, whether I ask him a question or not. Because I told him, I don't have to ask you a question for you to be able to answer it. And I really like where Reuben is. I like his intent. I really like his focus. I like his discipline right now. And obviously we're rooting for him. I'm a big Reuben Foster fan. I want to see him get back out there and play some football, because I know that's what he loves to do, and that's what he's worked very, very hard to do.
So those are the things you want to hear about a player that is trying to really kind of, I don't even know how many chances this is for him to come back, but he's trying to make another opportunity to come back and have an impact. And by what they're saying, by what Coach is saying, and even head coach Ron Rivera and his fellow teammates are saying, he's going about it the right room. So what does he bring to that linebacking room?
I think one of the things he brings is just, he's a potentially Pro Bowl caliber player. He's a guy that I don't think we have there. When you look at some of the guys that we have, you can say 1 or 2 guys who've been there before, but I think he brings that potential and add more depth.
Yeah, one of the things is, well, they said when he was when he was with the 49ers, he dealt with a lot of different injuries because he was so aggressive in the way he made his lines and he tackled, and he would almost even hurt himself from a lot of that. So he's having to kind of grow a little bit and learn the right way to go, how to play in order to make sure that he is consistently out there and contributing, because you can't do much if your shoulder's dislocated, your ankle's hurt, and you're off the field. So that's something that he's going to have to deal with as well. As a whole, how can he have that impact? If we're just talking like the defense in its entirety and not just the linebacking core.
Yeah, when you look at it, man, you just need one of those players that you can always trust on or count on and trust in. I think that's one of the biggest things that I questioned early coming into this segment is, can we count on him? One of the things about teams, you want to have a guy that regardless of what's going on through this season, where we up or down, or things just not going right for us, I can always rest assured that this guy's going to be here. So I think he has to add that element to his game of just being here and being, dependable, and then we can expect all the other stuff.
If you give all the circumstances of what he did get brought here for, I mean, he got cut mid-season because he's getting in trouble, missed, the game. They just said, we've given him enough chances, and he wasn't with the 49ers. And this team goes and picks him up and says, all right, we're going to take a chance on him and let the legalities play out, which he was cleared of. But if you're one of his teammates and you say, okay, we want to count on you on the field, but we also need to make sure we can count on you off the field to stay out of things. Like, what are you saying to a guy that comes in with that?
Some of those things you have to learn. Some guys just doesn't have it themselves. I was a young guy that paid attention to everything, but I also came into the game and just came into life, period, just knowing that there's certain things you can't do. I don't want to put myself in situations that I might find myself hindering the thing that matters to me the most. So I think when you heard those different, players or people speaking out saying that he needs to be around the right group of guys, it's because some guys need that. They need that other player or two or friend that they can always lean on and say, hey, let me come over and buy you and chill by you, instead of me doing something that's going to might not allow me to be able to be that guy come Sundays.
I know the Alabama guys, they do have a brotherhood. I mean, it's a brotherhood within the NFL, but especially because they come from Alabama, and they're going to be looking out for him. As an offensive guy, when you see someone like that join the defense and the potential, the first round, the explosiveness, the playmaker, do you get excited on the other side of the ball as well?
No question, no question. And you might give some of that insight to that guy, just knowing that, his past, or just knowing, what role he took to get here. You might share every now and then when you can, because I've been that guy. I've been a guy that reached out to guys, and they probably didn't even know why I was doing so. It's just because it mattered to me that much that if I didn't say anything and something happened, then I would feel like that was on me. So having that opportunity, given that chance, I would reach out and just give him a couple of lines or two and let him know that he can always count on me to be there if he might need my ear or my shoulder.
That's one of the main reasons as well. I think you see Thomas Davis Sr. here is not only is he capable of going out there, playing good minutes, and still having an impact in his 16th season, by the way. Wow. But also he's a leader. He is a pro. When he comes over from the Chargers, and of course he was with Ron Rivera in Carolina, they said he was just like a very stand-up leader guy. And he's going to get in there and be in that linebacking room and kind of help him along the way as well. And I think that that's going to be invaluable in his development for Foster.
No doubt. You help these guys understand what it takes to be a pro. And, not only between those lines and out here on the field, but how you have to handle yourself off the field. Some of the things that you can't allow to transpire when you're not inside this building. So it's always great to have those guys around.
So if Coach is going to slowly work him in, and if they want to try him out at all the spots, where do you think would be the best spot for him to start out at playing, and where do you really kind of want to see him go to as he does grasp the defense a little bit further?
I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but you just have to let that guy show you what's his strength. They quoted and said he can play inside or outside. I want to know what's his strength. I'm not sure if he's better in the inside or if he's better outside, but just hearing some of the things that he can do as far as covering, sideline to sideline. He also can cover, guys, tight ends, maybe the slot guy. I would try him at the outside because those are the guys that have the more of those opportunities to be in those situations. But if he can do it all, you find packages that you can bring him in along with the other guys that, play certain positions well, and make sure that you can implement them in depth.
Jack Del Rio is defensive coordinator, former head coach, which is something that I think was important when they were picking somebody for that selection. Is, head coach Ron Rivera is a defensive-minded, playing defense himself, but he doesn't want to have to sit there and micromanage the defense. He's got the whole team to worry about, and because you do have Jack Del Rio leading that, and he can sit back and say, okay, I can trust you with the defense while I can make sure it's all working. And part of that is just getting that linebacking room together, because they were a little bit of the weaker links, I think, a little bit in the past few years.
Question.
So if he can come back and stay healthy and contribute and continue on this path, then maybe that's an area on the defense that you have a little bit more faith in heading into this season. When we come back here on Washington Football Live, we're going to head to the other side of the ball. We're going to be talking about the O's and Kyle Allen. Is he really competing to be a starter, and how much does him having knowledge of the system really help the entire offense?
This summer, it's time to get back outdoors. Your Honda dealer is open and ready to get you into a new Honda today. Enjoy the sunshine in the family-friendly Pilot or the rugged Passport. Visit the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal from Honda, KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand. Get a great deal on the Pilot at the Honda Summer Clearance Event today.
Miracles. What we deliver by delivering.
It is time now for the O's presented by FedEx. And we've talked a lot about Dwayne Haskins Jr. and really how he's got extra confidence going to this season, the expectations for him to really take control of the offense. Part of that means that Dwayne Haskins Jr. has to learn the offense under Scott Turner, so it's another one for him. They have said all along that they think he's doing pretty well with it. When they quiz him and test him, he's getting it. And Scott Turner was saying he was really excited about the way some of the walkthroughs have gone recently because he can tell guys are starting to pick it up a little bit. And they want a very fast up-tempo practice. A big part of Dwayne Haskins' success, though, is also going to be Kyle Allen and how he approaches it as well. Haskins is getting the majority of the reps with the 1s and 2s, but they are going to work Allen in there just a little bit. The plan being getting Haskins ready. Kyle Allen, though, playing in Carolina under Turner, knows the offense. How much can that help a quarterback coming in, knowing you're going to be the backup, but also you're there to challenge Haskins as well?
I think it's great having Kyle here. I mean, he understands his role, but at the same time, he's the safety net. He's the guy that if everything goes bad, and I'm not going to wood and say that because you don't want to have that, circumstance. But if everything hits the fan, then we can rest assured and know that he can be the guy that can fill in and lead this team through.
And he was talking with the media very early on, I guess in the beginning of COVID, and when they brought him over, about how he does know this system and how when head coach Ron Rivera came to him, I think he was like even the 4th or 5th string quarterback in Carolina, he said, be ready because you're going to get your opportunities. And he wasn't lying with that. Cam Newton wasn't able to go. In comes Kyle Allen. And, well, he ends up being the starter for them at the end of the season. Now, one of the knocks against him is, well, he tried to force things a little bit too much. And you saw in that graphic 1 too many turnovers, 16 interceptions to 17 touchdowns. That is something that, of course, they would have to really improve upon. But he said, look, he's here to help anybody out there. And you couldn't really do that in the Zoom meetings, but he can do that now. He can talk to the running backs, the offensive linemen. He can talk to the tight ends, to the receivers, and say, this is what Turner is expecting, and he says he's willing to do that.
His presence is going to be felt from day one. You know, he's a guy that understands his offense. A lot of these guys here haven't played in his offense and didn't get a chance to have one off season to really be, tutored well. Those Zooms can help but so much. And I think having a guy like Cal, yes, trust me, when I was a veteran or even when I played this game, period, when I wasn't in, I watched the guy who was in. And whether he done right or wrong, I'm still picking up and taking, getting notes from that guy. So I believe Haskins will be able to sit back and watch him when he's not in to see what's expected. And then those receivers, those running backs, everybody who needs to know, what it takes to do well in this offense, he would be able to give them a little insight and say, hey, this is how coach expected and wants it.
Yeah, Alex Smith even has some pretty good conversation as well on kind of learning the system and being able to help Haskins there. But, Kyle is approaching this the right way. And if you are in that quarterback room, if you're Dwayne saying, okay, it's mine to lose, Kyle Allen say, look, I have every opportunity because coach is going to say that to be able to get out there. How does the competition with helping each other kind of balance itself out? Because look, it is a competition. Every guy thinks that they should be the starter, but yet they're still trying to help each other out for the overall good of the team.
I mean, he has to understand his role. He has to understand his game. This game, it's like a blink of an eye that you can be called upon to be that guy. So he's understand that. And also he understands last year how everything panned out for him. He understands that he had some highs and he has huge lows. And those moments only can just help you further on into your career. I think now he has a better understanding of probably what caused him to be where he was at last year. Now you fast forward to this season, he understands the competition, but coming into this competition, they have a guy. You know, this team inherited, this staff inherited a quarterback. And with that being said and done, although we brought Cal on here with us, we brought him for insurance. So he's that safety net, like I said before, that everything goes or hit the fan, then we can rest on this guy. But the competition level is always going to be there because that's why we play the game, to compete.
If there's something he does that really wows the coaches in camp, is there a chance that he could be your starter?
I doubt it, because I understand that Haskins has a lot of intangibles and tools that he's going to wow them the same. When you have the that Haskins has, when you have the youth that he has, I mean, both of the guys are pretty young, but, you know, you're going to want that guy, you know, who you drafted high enough to be that guy, go out here and lead this team.
Have you ever been in a situation where if you ever been in a situation where you're saying, okay, I want to be the starter, but I also have to coach up my competition as well? Like, have you personally experienced that?
Yeah, all the time, especially in my later years. But you have to understand, look, it's a privilege to play this game. You know, you don't have to be one of those guys selected. So most guys that have a long career understand that, and when you're young, you have to find out early that, hey, it's not my right or my duty, you know, it's not their job to have me here. You know, it's a privilege to be here. So being a guy that they can depend on to be in that room to be number 1, 2, or 3, it's great to have one of those spots. And when you know that you're not one, it's only right for you to help the guy if you know what's going on. If you don't, then that's up to y'all because you don't want your team to suck anyway.
So they say the most important position on a team is the quarterback. The second most important position on a team is the backup quarterback. Heaven forbid he goes down. You have to have somebody captaining the ship. When we come back here, we're going to see what is trending. Logan Campbell will join us for that one. And for it, we're going to have a little bit of Tana and some work that he did in the preseason, folks. Stay here.
A moment of joy, a source of inspiration, an act of kindness, an old friend, a new beginning, some welcome relief, or a cause for celebration. What's inside? Possibilities. What we deliver by delivering.
This summer, get back in the driver's seat. Your Honda dealer is open and ready to get you into a new Honda today. Like the versatile HR-V or the fun-to-drive CR-V. Visit the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal from Honda, KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand. Get a great deal on the CR-V at the Honda Summer Clearance Event today.
We love the trends. It is time for what is trending, presented by Bank of America, and we are bringing in Logan Campbell for this one. Logan, keep us up to date because, you know, we don't want to be left out not knowing what's going on out there.
Thanks, Julie. Well, in honor of the preseason, which would have started tomorrow against the Tennessee Titans, it's Flashback Friday. We're going back to a time when Washington defeated Tennessee on November 22nd, 2010. Washington defeated Tennessee 19-16 in overtime. And Santana, I think I overheard you earlier this morning saying you don't really remember the game. So let me jog your memory a little bit. So back in 2010, there were 7 combined field goals, 1 touchdown by special teams for Tennessee and 1 touchdown for Washington. And who do we think scored that touchdown?
Santana, Tana Man.
It is I.
Yes, damn.
Do you remember now?
I kind of, I went down memory lane and I thought about it a little bit. So, yeah, I remember a little bit of it.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Well, yeah, you scored that 1 touchdown. You had 6 receptions for 106 yards. Pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, that's what I do.
All right. Well, moving on, I tweeted out and asked you guys for your predictions on what you think the season will hold. So we pull up Twitter, And the first thing I asked was, who do you guys think will lead the team in rushing yards this season? Julian Santana. The options were Adrian Peterson, Bryce Love, and Peyton Barber, and Antonio Gibson. Who do you guys think won that poll?
I'm going to go with Adrian Peterson just because, first off, I want him to, because at this point in his career, I think he should. You know, I like him just proving everybody wrong. You still can't forget that a couple years ago, he was on the street. This team didn't pick him up. And so he has really continued to show every season that you can rely on him. I don't see any reason why you can't do that again.
Yeah, I'm going AP. I truly believe AP has what it takes. I mean, I understand the talent that we have in that room and all those young guys, and I'm sure they're going to get the opportunity. But this guy here is he's a player's player. He's the guy that you want to see out there every day, and I can always trust that AP going to bring it. So AP will be the leading rusher.
And you know, a lot of the other guys too, I think they're going to use a lot of the backfield. They're going to catch. They're going to be catching a lot, and Adrian will be just running right up. So we're going with Adrian.
That's completely right. With 61% of the votes, Adrian Peterson won. You can't disrespect the GOAT. You know, I think he's going to come out and do some huge things this year. Moving on, I then asked who will lead the team in receiving touchdowns. Julian Santana, the options were Terry McLaurin, Steven Sims Jr., AGG, and Trey Quinn. Who do we think won that one?
Terry.
Scary Terry.
I mean, is there really another way you could go with this one?
Should
It's
I
going to
go
be
more
Terry.
in depth with this?
Why not? Tell us, Tana, why.
Well, I think Terry is he's just the guy. You know, I mean, I understand what's going to be expected of him, but I also know the kind of mental that he has. He came into this game as a seasoned veteran, being a young rookie last year, and a lot of things probably going to be expected more. But one of the things that I love hearing this guy speak yesterday on is just now he doesn't have to really be that guy. We have so many other weapons out here that when it's his time, he's going to show up because he's going to be prepared and ready. So with 7 touchdowns last year, that was a walk in the park for him. This year, I see him, you know, getting a lot more than that.
That would have been my pick too, and 304 people voted, and he won by a landslide with 85% of the votes. Terry McLaurin took that poll and blew it out of the water. So we're all going to see big things. We all know he's going to bring some big stuff to the field this year. But moving on, we have who will have the most interceptions. Our options were Fabian Moreau, Jimmy Moreland, Landon Collins, and Kendall Fuller. Who do we think took that one?
If you had to ask me, my honest opinion, I would say Kendall. I believe Fuller is just one of those guys that, you know, I always share with you guys about how superstitious I am, and just knowing what Kendall did his last season here. When I saw him in Kansas City, you know, he fit, but he didn't have his mojo that he had here those years. I mean, I think he grew up here. He was a guy that showed us from season 1 when they picked on him to season 2. He showed you that don't pick on me, don't try me like that. And I think coming back here, he will remember that, and he will have that same feeling, that same vibe, and that same, you know, confidence about his game, and he will go out there and lead his team in interceptions.
I'm not going to argue against that, and I will be totally on board if that is what happens. But I'm going to go with, I think, a little bit more of a sleeper pick here. I'm going to say Fabian Moreau. He didn't get to start on the outside until the end of last season, and week 12 and 13, he had 3 interceptions in those 2 games alone. So I think he is just warming up, put him in the right spot, put him in the right defensive scheme, and I think he has a chance. Logan?
Well, Santana actually won that one. Kendall Fuller had 58% of the votes, while Fabian Moreau had 11%. Now, my pick would have been my JMU guy, Jimmy Moreland. He's a name that we've been hearing all throughout training camp. And people have said he has that dog mentality.
Yes.
I think he's going to go out on the field
Florida
and do
boy.
some big things. All right, last up, it's our last one. Who will have the most sacks? Now, this one I was kind of surprised about. So our options were Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Ryan Kerrigan, and Matt Ioannidis. Who do we think took that one?
I'm going to say everybody probably went with Chase Young. But because he's going to get double teamed, I wouldn't be surprised if it could be Montez Sweat or Kerrigan.
Yeah, well, my pick is Montez Sweat. I do believe that having that year is going to, you know, have him coming here ready to go out there and prove guys, you know, why he was picked where, you know, picked in the slot that he was picked in. And also having a guy like Chase Young is only going to open up more doors. I do believe it's going to be a sack fest for those guys because of this defense and the way Jack Del Rio likes to play. He's going to let those guys loose. He's going to let his dogs hunt. And I'm looking forward to these guys competing every week to see who's going to lead, that single game. I think it's going to be more of a race each week that we have to say or keep up with and say, man, who has the most sacks week in and week out. But I do believe Montez Sweat should be the leader in sacks on our team.
I think that this was probably the hardest poll I put out to answer, but this was a really close one. Chase Young won this poll with 43% of the votes. Montez Sweat came in a close second at 38%. So all the fans are expecting big things from the young guys on this team this season, Julie and Santana.
Thank you, Logan, for What is Trending, presented by Bank of America. When we come back, though, it is time for the post-game speech. We're going to tell you what Khaki Friday is all about because Tana took me to school on this one.
Miracles. What we deliver by delivering.
This summer, it's time to get back outdoors. Your Honda dealer is open and ready to get you into a new Honda today. Enjoy the sunshine in the family-friendly Pilot or the rugged Passport. Visit the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal from Honda, KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand. Get a great deal on the Pilot at the Honda Summer Clearance Event today.
Week 2 of Washington Football Live is in the books, and last Friday I learned a little something about Santana's. He told me that I thought it was Casual Fridays, where you get to be relaxed a little bit, and he told me no, it's not Casual Fridays, it is Khaki Fridays.
Yes.
And so Santana wears his dad khaki shorts, and somehow, some way, I totally forgot about this, but I managed to put on some khaki jeans. That kind of seems to count.
I think we just kind of like linked in some kind of form that even with you not knowing what to do, you did it.
That's why we work so well together. But you know what? If I'm going to give you a grade on that and be the fashion police, I think you can pull it off. Because in all honesty, I'm not really a big fan of khakis. I'm just really not. It seems like too stiff, too country club to me.
Yeah.
But the way that you're rolling in them, I could get behind that.
Well, I was told I have a great eye when it comes to putting on
style?
my attire, so I would say I did well too. You know?
Yeah. All right, fair
Took my
enough.
own horn a little bit.
Nobody's going to sit there and tell Santana he doesn't have any style, especially since I want you to stay on my side as we go through training camp. Look, folks, coming up today, Reuben Foster will be talking to the media in a press conference. We bring those to you as well, so you can go to Twitter, Facebook, wherever we have on social media, and you can listen in to the media interviewing Reuben Foster. And Thomas Davis Sr. is talking at 12:30, so make sure you tune in to that as well. We will be back on Monday for another week of Washington Football Live. Things will be going a little bit faster because helmets are on, pads are coming up soon on the 18th, and that is when you'll really be able to evaluate the players, and we can finally see where all these question marks in the team are going to fit out. So stay with us every week at 9 a.m. and then today happy hour is at 2:30. It's Friday. You can always have happy hour at 2:30. That's presented by Bud Light Seltzer. Thanks for joining us. Have a great Friday. I'll see you back here in a couple hours or more.